It was better than Lego. It was better than Lego. It was better than Lego. That's all I can say.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching us. Welcome to NRL's Better Than Lego Rugby League Radio. Joining me again this week, Geoff Foster and Paul Cunliffe, Sadfish and Mugwump. Evening, gents.
Evening.
Okay, before we go into things, just to round up really the weekend's results. Storm over the Raiders, Panthers seeing off the Dragons. Roosters edging out the Broncos with a controversial last-minute penalty, which I'll ask you about in just a second. Our two big games, South blowing Titans off the park, Manly crushing Parramatta. Tigers, our favourites, again, did manage to win again, beating the Bulldogs. Beating the Cowboys, who I think that's 8 or 9 games they lost in a row. The Warriors beating the Bulldogs. And, of course, Knights holding out against the Sharks. Couple of interesting stats. Want to pull out against you, gents, talking about Canberra versus the Titans and Parramatta against Manly. Some stats for Manly against Parramatta. 66 completion rate for Parramatta, 14 line breaks to 1 for Manly, 35 tackle breaks to 13, and it's 5th time this year that Manly have hit 50. Gents, I don't know if you saw the game, but what did you think of either of those games, Canberra versus Titans, Manly versus Eels?
The Eels game was just a if the wheels hadn't fallen off a couple of weeks back, they're certainly fallen off now, aren't they?
Yeah.
They look like it reminded me a little bit of when I used to be watching league back in like late 80s or the early 90s, when your team used to field, you'd be in the Challenge Cup and you'd field an 18, and then you were just watching a first team, usually Wigan, rugging a bunch of kids ragged, and that's what it looked like. Well, these guys are professional players, so something's seriously wrong there at that club. It's terrible situation.
Paul?
Yeah, Manly versus Eels. I mean, it's, what can I say? Terrible stuff, you know. We've been talking about it for weeks now, about these off-field problems, and they put it to one side apparently. But you know, I kind of, the only notes that I made from this game, right? Terrible, predictable, no player worth 500,000, never mind $1 million, $1 million in that team. You know, and I don't, you know, no wonder they've parked it, because they need time to kind of reassess what's going on. You know, it's impossible to know what they're thinking. On the other hand, you know, Manly were fantastic in that game. You know, they played really well, and I'm sure you'll be talking point later. But you know, if they do lose any players, Manly, then you know, I'm not sure they'll be able to put that kind of score on if it's either of the two superb playmakers they've got at the moment, you know.
Okay, staying with you, Paul. Souths continued their winning ways again. Still flying high. Comfortably disposed of the Titans. Again, you know, the players that we talked about, again, Cody Walker again, Latrell Mitchell, just dominant, absolutely superb against the Titans. What would you think of that game?
I think, I think less wrestle in the game in the NRL at the moment is helping Souths, because they're certainly the kind of team that aren't interested in that. Is that 10 straight wins? I think it is, isn't it? You know, Reynolds and Walker are just fantastic. I think, like, you know, I think the key to South is they play everything off the back of the fantastic defence at the moment. It's just top class. And Titans, I think, like, you know, we've said this last week that Holbrook's immediate aim was to get them into the 8, beat everybody below them generally in the table from mid-season onwards, and they're doing that. They didn't necessarily need to beat South, but it would have been good if they'd have done that, you know. But that wouldn't be an aim. It will be top 8, and they are still in the hunt. So I think that's how it works out.
Yeah. Okay. An interesting fact before we go talk about a couple of the other games. Rugby League Eye Test on Twitter, which I highly recommend an account that you follow. They were talking about in terms of there was a statistical breakdown in terms of where teams are tackling, basically. What percentage of the tackles they're actually committing in the opponent's half. And, you look down the leaderboard, Panthers, Storm, right at the top in terms of, I think at one point the Panthers were running at something like 65% of tackles that they were making were in the opponent's half, which is a phenomenal statistic. Funny thing was, even up until the last couple of weeks, Parramatta were running at 63%. It was a crazy one. But the interesting statistics was that since South have been drilled by Melbourne and Penrith, they're in the high. I think they've had the highest percentage, something like 63, 64%, which kind of backs up what you say, Paul. And we'll go on to that a bit later. But before we move on, just a quick word about the Broncos Roosters game. Two incidents in particular that I want to perhaps mention to you, Geoff. I know one of them that you'll love to talk about. The first one was, of course, which was the winning penalty, which was given for. I think you would describe it as it was almost like a slap on the face, which then gave the Roosters the penalty, and also the Victor Radley challenge on Albert Kelly, where he basically cleaned him out. Fortunately, Kelly escaped without an injury. But thoughts on those, Geoff?
Radley must. Personally, I think there's going to have to be a new prize in the NRL for dumbest player in the competition. And Radley seems to be running away with this year. A number of times he's swinging for the fences, and taking someone's chin with him. It's ridiculous. I really do get fed up of all these kind of like pundits who are defending him, saying, "Oh, he plays on the edge. He plays like he plays." Well, Les Boyd used to play on the edge until he got banned. Until he got banned for like a season. It keeps happening. This guy, and he's just a serial offender. The penalty, look, I felt a bit sorry for the Broncos. They really look like they're trying to get things back together again. They're not just like the paper tigers they've been early on this season. Yeah, they toughed it out. They've got their halfbacks are not great. You wouldn't say they're most creative in the world, but they're both, gritty battlers. They hung in there, and to be fair, they had a lot to be proud of. Look, with the players they're going to get in next season, if they can go along this route, then they're not going to be at the bottom of the competition anymore, are they? So,
excuse me. No. Paul, anything about I don't know if you saw the two tackles. I guess you probably saw the Victor Radley one where he just threw himself at Albert Kelly's feet. Jammer pointed out that he did exactly the same in a grand final against Adam Reynolds and changed his approach. So that's a fair comment, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No issue with it at all. I thought it was, you just got to make a change to your playing style. Yeah.
Okay, right, gents. On to the weekend's previews. We thought we'd have a big talking point this week, which was about Tom Trbojevic, Tommy Turbo, who, the way I understand it, he has a hairline fracture of his jaw, which is held together with a plate. And what I believe has happened is that he's cracked it again, but it's still being held together with a plate. That's my understanding of it. Luster said that he's going to miss 2 or 3 weeks, but he's not going to be now, and he is penciled in, and we'll come on to who's starting. But before we go into the games, just a roundup of the games that they've got left, and we'll go through each teams. The Knights, this is around the teams that are around battling for those last 2 playoff spots, effectively. 7th Knights, their running is the Bulldogs, Titans, and Broncos. Paul, that's 3 winnable ones you would think they would be looking at.
For sure, yeah, they've got to do that. They've got to, this is how the season's is almost at an end. There's nothing else we can do really. We've got to beat these last 3 teams. So,
okay. And with we're sticking with you, Paul. The Titans have got the Storm this week, which is Thursday's cracker. Then 2 very winnable games, and I think they're going to have to win both of them if they're going to make it. The Knights and the Warriors.
Yeah. No chance against the Storm. I don't give them any chance at all. But well, any chance. There's always a chance, but I don't think they'll be looking at that game particularly as the way to keep the 8th spot or 7th spot. It's going to be the last 2 games. They'll be totally focused on those last 2 games, 100%. Especially the Knights game. I think they probably think they can beat that, can win that game, and hopefully win the Warriors game. But Warriors are they're kind of like the unknown. They could end up 2 losses and from 1 win the last 3 games.
Well, I mean, it's very possible that Warriors game could be a decider for the 8th place. Okay, Geoff, 9th spot Raiders have got Manly, Warriors, and the Roosters. 2 toughies there, you would think, with Manly and the Roosters.
Yeah, it's it's going to be tough, really. For me, the Raiders they just don't really have the firepower. I think we made this point a few weeks ago. If you look back at the Raiders, 2, 3, 4 seasons ago, they were one of the most entertaining attacking sides in the competition. They could hit you from anywhere. They had strike players all over the pitch. The problem that you see with them now really is there's not a lot of scoring power in that side. You can't see them running up 50 too often, can you? And the other thing is they're conceding a lot of silly stuff as well, giving late penalties away. And against sides like those, they're going to really struggle, I think.
Cronulla got a big game this weekend against our favourites, and I think they're getting a bit of a cult following now, West Tigers. Broncos and the Storm to finish after that. So, again, two not soft games, but 2 very winnable games for Cronulla there.
Yeah, I think it's really what I've been saying about Cronulla, for the last few weeks. You just don't know who's going to turn up, really. For me, they're one of the hardest teams to really kind of get to get a fix on, really. And I don't think it's helped with the situation they've had this week with Fafita as well. So
yeah, I mean they've been solid without overperforming, haven't they? They've still been hanging in.
Yeah.
I'll go quickly over the Dragons because I think we've all kind of accepted that they're in free fall, but they've got the Roosters, Cowboys, and the Rabbitohs, so a tough one for them. Then the Warriors and West, who are 12th and 13th. Okay, Paul, I'll ask you first about the Warriors. They've got Broncos, Raiders, and Titans. So again, perfectly winnable games.
Yeah. The problem is, again, the problem is, as has been all season, is that they're just not quite generally at the races, are they? And they get towards the end of the game, and they've been so close to winning.
Yeah. I think they've lost more. I think they're like losing by 1 try or something, or 1 score or something. I think they're like one of the closest in the competition, one of the highest in the competition for close losses.
Yeah. So again, they're so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. West's that was the team we were talking about, I think, wasn't it? West's this is the running for West, yeah. Is that's them? No, they can't make the 8, can they? So I don't.
Well, I don't know. With Sharks, Panthers, and Bulldogs, they beat the Sharks this week.
Yeah.
I mean, you need 20. Well, at the moment, you need 20 points to hit. So they're going to have to. All those that aren't on 20 points need to be winning 2 out of the 3, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay. So onto this weekend's game. We'll start with tomorrow's game. In fact, as it is now, which is the Titans, who are in 7th place against Storm. Melbourne going for a record equaling 19 wins, which would equal the 1975 Sydney Roosters, which, for those of you that don't know, were the team that played in the 1976 first ever World Club Challenge with Saints, the thumped Saints. That was it, 25-2 in front of 27,000. So they're already registered the highest total points scored. They're conceding less than 20 points a game over the last 14 games. In fact, they're 29-0 in the last 29 games in Queensland. Jamal Fogarty is set to return, replacing Tom Sexton for the Titans. And also Nico Hans penciled to start at 7 in place of Jerome Hughes, who still, I think, might have a late fitness test. But AJ Brimson out with her laying fracture for the jaw. As for Solomon, not in the squad. I'll start with you first, Geoff. Titans versus the Storm. Any chance for the Titans? Sadfish has kind of ruled them out already. Any chance? You think?
It's going to be tough. The thing is, the Titans' biggest weakness is their edge defense is porous. Their centers crabbing too often, get caught in horrendous overlaps. It just so happens that they've been up against some of the best sides, and obviously Melbourne as well. The best sides are exploiting that. But I don't think the Titans have got the firepower to. Not unless Melbourne have an off day. Look, the Titans can rack up a lot of points, but it's stopping those points is the problem for them, really.
Well, I mean, if you're Holbrook, are you going for this fixture, or are you looking at the Warriors and was it the Broncos? Can't remember now. The last game that they've got. When was it? Knights, sorry. You'd be looking at the Knights game next week. One eye on that, because they're going to have to win at least one out of those remaining 3 games to get there. And I think if they win one, that puts them in a strong spot, because the others are going to be knocking each other off. Paul?
No, I'm not going to change my opinion on this. Justin Holbrook is a key, coach when it comes to these. He won't give up on this game this weekend. They'll all be in, they'll all be on it. But from a tactical point of view, he'll have all his statistic guys and all his tacticians looking at the tapes from the other 2 games for the week after. This is just pure end of season strategy. Beating the Storm would be fun, absolutely fantastic, but it's not a goal. Getting in the 8's a goal, so that's where I think.
Yeah. Okay, rumours abound that Ash Taylor may be headed to Super League next year. Still not sorted out a contract. I still find that hard to believe. I think there'll be somebody in the NRL will come in for him, but it'd be a great addition to Super League. Whoever's got him.
Yeah, obviously it would depend where he goes, really, because there are some teams in Super League. I'm not sure he would be an ideal fit. He seems to have confidence problems. He's going to need a good coach, and say it doesn't matter. He's a good player, and he'd certainly be a better player playing in Super League. But still, he's still got those kind of character flaws, and he'd have to go in with, fortunately, Leeds seem to have bought up all the halfback quota for this year, next year, and the year after. I wouldn't fancy my chances if he's going there. Maybe some of the other clubs. Yeah, but who's got a slot? Who's got a slot for him? Man? I don't know.
I don't even think that's the problem. Who's got the money? Okay, we've already discussed on other shows how much money last year cost the game and the clubs.
Yeah.
So where's the reduction in the salary cap divvying up over the next few years? I just don't think. I don't think there's any clubs that can afford him unless he's coming at vastly reduced money to get back into the NRL in a couple of years.
I have to excuse me touching my face. The company's face shaving this morning, and I've just picked off that I've just accidentally knocked the scab off. Okay, on to the next game. Raiders are in 9th facing Manly. This is one of the key games for finishing in the 8th. As we said, Tommy Turbo set to start at fullback, or he's penciled in to start at fullback. Chance Nickel Clockstart is back for the Raiders, but no Tom Starling out for the rest of the season. That's going to play a bit of a part in the Raiders' plans, you would think, Paul, particularly with Hodgson dropping back into the lock forward role as he has done halfway through the game when Starling's come on, to give the Raiders a bit more width.
Yeah, I think the positivity will be lacking because they go forward and is disappeared. But I think that Tommy Turbo playing, if he plays, the only reason that you'd want him to play really at this stage in the season is to keep him on the Dally M. In my opinion. If he misses,
can't disrupt your form, can you? If he's not playing and it's this close to the finals, it does disrupt your form as well.
Exactly, yeah. And, we talked about this with Cleary, that you know, even if he was only 90% fit, then his form would keep dipping if he didn't play. And it's the same here, you know, with Tommy, that he's got to play. And Starling not playing, it will be a big. It'll be it was the talking point of this Raiders team. So I just think that it's just going to be another one of those Raiders. Every month we kind of see a very poor showing every month from them. This will be it.
Geoff?
I
mean, you've already said Raiders lacking the punch, and if there's one team that's got firepower out wide, it's Manly.
Yeah. Look, the thing is that they can surprise you, the Raiders. But yeah, like you said, one of the things that can kind of concern me when I was watching them really was the kicking game was very, very poor, and they were putting the ball in the hands of people who look, the wrong people are getting the ball. When it comes down to it, and sometimes no one is getting the ball. They're getting to fifth tackle, and then the ball's finding its way back into the hands of a prop forward or something like that. For me, they just don't have that. If you haven't got great scoring players, you've not got a pack which can dominate. Then the only way really you got to kind of getting yourself some territory is to kicking. And for me, the kicking game is, well, to say it's gone backwards, it's just. It's just non-existent.
Mighton's got a big leg, but he's not particularly accurate, and he's a bit.
No,
he's not. He's never a game manager, is he?
I think Raiders have been performing to the best of their ability over the last few weeks, and I think that's the best that they can do at the moment with the team they've got. So coming up against Manly at this point, I just don't think they're going to make the grade.
Okay, on to our first big game of the round then. Penrith against Souths, second versus third. This is a battle for second. Does it make that much difference? Well, probably not, because all you'll end up probably doing is Penrith playing Souths either way. But it might give you avoiding one of the tougher smaller teams coming through, or lower down teams. 10 wins in a row, first time since '89 for Souths, and the first team to hit 30 points every game in 8 consecutive games. Comments that the changes in the game have benefited Souths. I mean, Paul, you mentioned it a little bit earlier that Wayne Bennett's never been a fan of the wrestling. He's trying to get rid of it. So the reduction in wrestling, which there's been, has impacted their game positively. Campbell Graham, Alex Johnston back this week as well. I mean, again, the contrast from last week, if we talk about the Titans game earlier in the season, which was 40-30, it was a great shootout. But completely different last week with Souths, with the defence where Titans weren't having a sniff. Cody Walker currently running 32 try assists and 50 line break assists. Coruscant and Fisher Harris back for Penrith. Cleary and Burton starting again. Tough game. Paul?
It's going to be a cracker, this. I'm really looking forward to this game. I reckon I'm going to shoot for the Dally M with Walker at the moment, because I know that Tommy Turbo is probably kind of most people's jump for it, but I think that Walker's just going to keep on building over the next few games and into it's just going to be, I think that a lot of people. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether Dally Cherry Evans is quite. I'm not sure where he is on the list, but I think I think that's the three, isn't it? But they're all playing very well, aren't they? It's kind of like, but Penrith, brilliant. South, brilliant. I think it's just going to be a cracking game. I can't even think of any negatives from either team. I think it's just going to be such a great matchup between two top teams.
Yeah, Geoff.
The only thing I'm kind of concerned about with Souths is it might not actually be strictly concerned with the team itself. It's just that you have to remember that Bennett's record as you come to the business end of the season is not good. It's been a long time between drinks before he's kind of done the business, hasn't he? all his kind of his peers have been running away from him, really. And the thing that concerns me is, are they going to do the usual Wayne Bennett thing of get to the end of the season and they just, they can't. They're okay running at the speed of the league, but when it comes to the business end, when you've got to push all the chips into the centre of the table, I'm just not sure that Wayne he's adapted for it anymore. His record doesn't suggest it. So,
well, I mean, in fairness, most of I think most of the ones you're probably referring to are with Brisbane when he had a number of Origin players who would probably get pulled out. I mean, this is his final season, isn't it? This is you would think that those changing rooms are rocking for Bennett every time they're in him, at half time, beginning of a game, end of a game, trying to get one more for him. You would think I must admit I can't pick a winner between those two. And I think it'll go down to the wire. I think, for South's point of view, if they continue to win, that can only be a good thing. Penrith are back in the fold. They're playing well again. Them knocking off Souths puts them back in the hunt again straight away as a strong favourite, doesn't it? It's a tough game.
Yeah.
Okay, on to our second choice for the game of the round, which is West Tigers, currently in 13th against Cronulla Sharks. Again, Wests are just ticking over. They're just hanging on, seems like almost they're not doing the minimum, but the results are suggesting that they're doing the minimum to hang on. Beat the Bulldogs. Cronulla, again, you said lost Fafita. They've been playing without halfbacks. Matt Moylan's back in the running, potentially to come in this week. It's a must-win game for both teams, probably, because they've got trickier games outside this and teams with better points differentials than themselves. Geoff?
Yeah. Look, I would be. I'll have to go for West. For me, they've got the younger, despite the fact there are plenty of flaws with that side, and they get blown up far too easily. They've got younger guys. They've got more strike power. For me, like I said, I just can't get an angle on that side at all. I just don't know where they are. It's like a black box. You just can't understand what's going on inside it.
Mm-hmm. Paul?
Well, there's like 6 teams, I think, at the moment vying for 8th spot. Okay, 8th through to 13th, and the Tigers are the bottom of the pile. But if they win this game, they'll end up in, they could end up in 9th position. Yeah. With a couple of games to go, and they're an big outside chance because of the points difference, of course. But look, if there's motivation for we talked about the Tigers all for the last few weeks about how we really wanted them to do well, but they've not really given the goods, shown us the goods well, and now is the time to finish on a high, fight for that 8th spot. It's a big ask, but I'm going to go with Tigers. I'm going to go with Wests. Okay. I just think the Sharks are slipping a little bit, and
I'm going to go for Cronulla because they're just going to throw a spanner in our works and spoil it all for us.
And every time we go for Wests, they get beat.
Yeah. Okay. Bulldogs against the 9th, 16th against 11th. Big story this week from coming out of the Newcastle Knights was that Connor Watson, the loose forward or utility forward, it's decided that next year he's going to Sydney Roosters. He doesn't have an agent. Contacted Trent Robinson himself, who he does have a working relationship, having played for him before. Phoned him up and said, look, they're offering me this over here at Newcastle. Took a year less and 50k less to go over there. What's his name? The guy who does the NRL 360 commenting that he thinks there's a bit of a rift going between the players. Certainly not a good sign going into the playoffs, you'd think, Paul, no matter which way you dress it up, it does. I mean, this is a guy that they pushed the boat out to try and get to attract to their team, and now he's going back to where he was before.
Yeah, I don't know whether it'll change much for the last few games. They've got a fairly easy run in, haven't they? Soft run home. In this game, and Pongi didn't. He appears to be a little bit injured, doesn't he? I think even with the distractions, I don't think. I think the Knights, if they win this game, which they highly likely they will do, they're in the 8th. They've got 7th spot all to themselves essentially. So
I mean, this was no guarantee, though, is it? I mean, I know you're saying there, but no, Saifiti is out. Luke Thompson's coming back for the Bulldogs.
Yeah,
and you know what happens when Luke Thompson goes back on the pitch. Yeah.
Oh well, Pong. I think Pongi is suffering a little bit, and we're at the end of the season, but it's too big a game. This is it. This is solidify that spot. Make the others work hard to catch up, and it's going to be all in. They'll be talking about this week. The distractions of things that are going on around them, and they'll be put to one side, I think, by these guys. I don't think the Bulldogs are going to win another game this year.
No, Geoff, if they win this, the Knights, that's them. Surely they've got the 7th spot, you would think.
Yeah, you think I'd have them as favourites, but for me, I still think there are a lot of problems at that Newcastle side. I think they stem all the way back before Nathan Brown, back before, maybe even before Bennett. For me, as well, Ponga as well. This is a guy. I watch him and I think this guy is supremely talented. He's a fantastic player, but I'm always got the suspicion that this guy's playing within himself. He's playing. 8 out of 10.
He's still a kid, isn't he?
He's still a kid, but there are questions that have been asked about Newcastle and how much power is circulated by a certain group of players. And it was the same thing that did in Nathan Brown there, and I still think they've still got the same issues. I expect them to win. They've got more talent on the pitch, but again, I just as easily see them blow up.
Okay. On to the next game, the battle of the teams in freefall, which is Parramatta against North Queensland. No Blake Ferguson, who looks like he's out for the remainder of the season, having already lost Reid Marnie, the hooker. And I believe that Ferguson is also exploring offers from Super Rugby. I think Adelaide, whatever the Adelaide team is called in Super Rugby as well. Campbell Gillard out until the finals. The Cowboys, though, still running with the makeshift centres with Glanville deputising there. There's no excuses for Parramatta losing this one, is there, Geoff?
Well, right now I'm struggling to see where they're going to get a point from because the last game I watched it was just it was schoolboy stuff. There were guys who were, and it wasn't just that they were. Manly were humiliating them really towards the back end of that. Even the commentators are saying, "Call it off." That's bad. That's not a good sign. And it looks to me like the whole place is just about to go into meltdown. Really. So I'm not. I think if you put them in against anybody, I think that they could be on the end of another walloping. Really. I think they've fallen apart.
I'm not convinced about that. I think I think okay, they've slipped a lot over the last few weeks. They've had a bad few games, but off the pitch has caused all sorts of problems. We've done them down, big problems everywhere. This team's not going to win again, but they're not going to lose their 6th spot. I don't think in the table. Okay, and they're up against the Cowboys, who are rock bottom still, struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with this is the turnaround week for the Eels. They're going to get it together. Things are going to be settled. They're up against a team that is, has got a very poor defensive record. I think they'll pull it through on this one, personally.
Okay. Where do you two folks sit on the Brad Arthur situation in terms of him sticking along with coach? I mean, we talked about it last week where he's playing with a squad with, perhaps, only one or two. No origin, one origin player, maybe one or two top quality players. Rumours that Brad Fittler has been approached, although Fittler says no one's been in contact with him. Sterlo was asked about where he sits on the Brad Arthur situation, and he said he made no comment about it. So I think there's a bit of review going on there. And one of the things he talked about in NRL 360 with the recruitment in Parramatta is that the good teams, have recruitment teams. The other teams have recruitment boards, of which Brad Arthur's one of those. Is he worth another go next year?
Well, for me, I think there are bigger issues than Brad Arthur. Look, you can make a case to say that he's kind of reached the end of the road, but for me, there are other issues at the club that need addressing before the coach.
What do you mean by other issues?
Well, I look at that side, and I'm not seeing the kids there that I'm seeing at other clubs.
Yeah,
you've got to be able to supplement your side with. I mean, look, you can't be creating world class players. With every guy that comes is going to be world class. But look, you've got to be able to supplement your guys like Gutherson and whatever with people out the the juniors that are not just like another body. The people that are going to be fighting for a spot in a season, 2 seasons time. I'm just not seeing players like that. I'm seeing a lot of guys who are like veteran guys that are bringing in on big contracts. And to be honest, I can kind of understand possibly why Gutherson is a bit ragged, really, because I mean, really speaking, at the start of the year, there was only really him and the scrum half really who were leading the line in the attack. There's not really much help there for them, And if once those guys start going down injured, like I said, there's structural problems at that club.
Okay,
yeah,
Paul?
I think Jeff's nailed it absolutely, 100%. They're top heavy. They're not only top heavy player wise with experienced players that are on. They're money heavy, on a small amount of players on a lot of money, and I think that is causing problems further down the line. And that's probably the kind of story of the season for the Eels, So.
Well, not just them. It seems like a number of clubs over the last few years really juggling those, the big contracts, isn't it, with the small players. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more towards the end of the season. We mentioned it about sometimes, is there a case that you can only have 3 or 4 stars and then you have to build a team of, Joe averages and Joe potentials around them. Okay, then on to the last 2 games. Although they do matter, the Roosters in 5th can probably go up to 4th if they beat the Dragons. Victor Radley out until the finals. As James Graham said, you've got to be smarter than that. It can't be target like that. Maria Hargreaves is back. Andrew McCullough's out for the rest of the season for the Dragons, so I'm not sure what that means for the hooking situation. I had a look at the team lineup for this weekend and couldn't identify a proper hooker there, so not sure what that means for them. Blake Laurie's out as well indefinitely, so not looking good for the Dragons. A patched up Roosters team. This is the kind of team that you'd like to be playing, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say much about this game. It's just going to be a slipping Dragons side, slipping even further. I think. Yeah. I don't think.
Well, we say that, but Dragons and Roosters games can be.
Yeah,
they can be a bit.
They're on the Gold Coast, aren't they, in Queen? And I don't think it's going to be the same.
Okay,
it'll just be it's just. Inside. I say this, and then of course, Roosters, as you say, they could. They're not. They're just solidifying 4th, aren't they? They might switch the team around a little bit or work on some different kind of things. So.
Okay, Geoff.
Well, for me, I think you really got to give a lot of credit to the Roosters, really, because I'm really kind of struggling to think of a side that has gone through as much strife with injuries, players retiring. It seems like they've got more guys injured at any one time than they got fit, and yet credit to the coach really, because there are never any excuses there really. And aside from a couple of weeks where they've got run over because they've been lacking in the forwards, they've put up, they've fronted up, and for me, it really just kind of hammered the point home that look, just because your starting guys are out, that doesn't mean that there has to be a drop off in quality. Next man up. It's your responsibility to do the job. I think far too many teams kind of make excuses in that respect. We've got 2 guys out and we can't win. Well, the Roosters have proven that that isn't true. Credit to them.
Yeah. Okay. On to the final game then, and by no means the lowest game. The Broncos, who at the back end of the season have started to put things together, although admittedly still not necessarily getting the results. They play the Warriors. Anthony Milford set to return 5/8 as Tyson Gamble struggles with a swollen hand. Again, the Warriors, like West Tigers, they're just hanging in there. They're playing well, which is slightly different to West Tigers.
Yeah.
Have they got a chance, Geoff, of making that 8th? I'm assuming. Well, will they beat the Broncos?
Well, they've got. Look, they've got enough to beat them. Yes, the Broncos have really improved over the last few weeks. But again, you still got the feeling they're a little bit fragile when it comes to the last 5-10 minutes. And I think if they can keep it close up until that point, maybe they can expect the Broncos to beat themselves as they have done so often. But I think it'll be a tight game, especially since Walsh is going to be coming back, isn't he? So that'll be interesting if he runs a hat trick in or something. That's going to go down really well.
The Broncos apparently are hopeful of bringing him back at some point in the future. I believe I saw an article today. Right. Paul, Broncos versus the Warriors.
I know Sean Johnson signed back for the Warriors. Is he going to play?
No. I think he's just gone back to return home.
Right, for next year then. It's okay. Yeah. So, I thought that might be a bit of a kind of big bonus for the Warriors this weekend if he was. I'm not. Obviously it's
he's out injured as well, isn't he?
He is out injured, of course. Yeah. So even if he turned up in camp, it could be a positive. You see what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not sure how that's working out. I'm not sure
he's gone home, though. He's not going to be turning up at camp, though, is he? Probably.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I asked. I didn't know whether he'd gone home to New Zealand or whether he just switched allegiances and was, finishing up. I don't know because I don't know how the hell they're working the quarantine system out over the Tasman Sea. It just seems like, it seems to change all the time. So I don't know whether he's allowed to go to New Zealand. He lives in New Zealand. I don't know any of that. So to me, it's kind of. I just thought that if he was in the camp, it might be a big bonus for them. I don't think they need a lot to beat the Broncos, but that would just seal it. For me, I think they've signed a fair few good signings for next year, and I think they'll win this game. The Warriors, they're still in. They're still, even though 5 weeks ago you looked at the Warriors and thought, they're down and out, or they're going to struggle for the rest of the season.
14 points,
still in the hunt, for that spot. It's brilliant. I love it. They deserve everything they get for this year. So,
they certainly set up for a good squad for next year, you would think. So, okay. Just before we wrap up and I ask you your thoughts on who's going to be the grand finalists and who's going to get those 7th and 8th spots. News story that broke earlier this week was that the NRL are talking about sending teams home. As soon as the finals is over, that's it. You can all go home and go back. And apparently, the players are asking, can they stay at the NRL's expense? I can imagine how that's been greeted. Okay, Jim. So thinking about. Sorry,
how does that work when they play in New Zealand as well? Can't they? Haven't some of these players?
It's not just that. The NRL's already paying for it, isn't it? So pay for it yourselves, isn't it? I think is the cry. especially during lockdown while everybody else is broke. Okay, so looking on the we'll look at every week just to see in the last few weeks just to see if there's anything changes. Paul, your grand finalists, so what you're looking at this week, who do you think will make it?
Grand final, I think it'll just be the run-of-the-mill Storm Panthers. I'm not even going to go anywhere else. I just can't see. Saints have done really well over the last few weeks, but I still think, if Cleary carries on playing, it'll just be. I think Storm will win it. As for eighth, I think it's going to be as it is right now. I don't think it's going to change.
Okay, so Titans and Knights, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the Knights will move up a position. We'll move into 7th on their own this weekend, and then it'll just be a fight for the 8th. And I think the Titans will still do it. So.
Okay, Geoff, grand finalists.
Well, my head says the same, really. The Storm and the Panthers, but we've been down this road many times before. Not just in Australia, but in Super League, other competitions as well. Is whenever you think you know who the two nailed on finalists are going to be, one of them's going to blow up. One of them's going to blow up. I don't know who that's going to be, but I would suggest that one of them will blow up. It always seems to happen every year, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah. Well, there's an outside chance of Melbourne. You never know, do you? Because Melbourne finished top, they play 4th, and they play then the winner of 5th versus 8th, which at the moment potentially is, it's either going to be Manly or the Roosters, isn't it? So I think, either way, 4th or 5th is going to be Manly or the Roosters probably anyway. So there's a chance there. Again, both of those teams on the day.
You need one star man. All you need is a side that has plenty of belief. And if you've got one star man, one guy who is the difference maker, that's all you need. That's all you need. And, Manly've certainly got it.
Okay, and who are your picks for 7th and 8th?
Same really.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Well, I'll break the mold then. I'm going to go. I think Newcastle asserts, but I'm going to go with the blind side and go with Cronulla. Okay. So that's it for this week, folks. Thanks to Geoff and Paul. Thanks, gents.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And have a safe weekend and enjoy your rugby league. We do.
It was better than Lego. It was better than Lego. It was better than Lego.